Hi, and welcome to the introductions to the latest BeeInstant Grafana plugin. In this walkthrough video, you will find the installation steps, how to set up the data source, and the major features of this plugin. So now let's start with the installation steps. This plugin has been tested on Grafana server version 6.1.2 and Grafana server version 6.1.6. To install, you will need to download the BeeInstant-datasource zip file from your email or your method of communications. After that, you will need to extract the file and you will get a folder with similar names, and this contains all the files we need to install this plugin onto your Grafana systems. All we need to do next is to copy this folder into the folder where all Grafana plugins are installed, namely /var/libs/Grafana plugin. You can use the copy command as follow. When you finish that, you can check for the contents of this folder, of the destination folder, and the content of the one inside, just for sanity check. Next, we will need to restart the server to apply our changes by using the service Grafana server restart command. Now we need to check if the plugin has been successfully installed. In the browser, you can access your Grafana instance, log in and select adding a new data source. You should see the BeeInstant data source plugin with the BeeInstant logo appear on your list of available plugins or data source. To start querying the metrics from our backend, first select to add BeeInstant data source to the project. There are two informations that you need to configure: the stack number and the API keys. These input informations are both required and are given to you in the emails. We can add this information in, for example, like so, and we can hit save and test. When save and test is clicked, it will trigger a call to the BeeInstant backend to ensure that the connection between the client and the server will work as expected. Then when we go back to create a dashboard, we can see that our BeeInstant data source are here. With the piece of such metrics, which is a part of the UI components of the data source. As I have just mentioned, the industry UI will show you a search bar component. The user can click on their input a search keyword and search for the relevant metrics. Here I search for CPU and I will have different metrics with different dimensions and different ways of grouping the dimension as well. For one of the metric, I can click on the plot button and I will see the data being plotted on the graph. These metrics that have plots, the information of it will also show on the sidebar on the right hand side, or what we call the metric editor. So now the most basic usage of the Grafana data source plugin is now demonstrated. You can search for the metric, click on the plot button, and it will be plotted on the UI. We can now save the dashboard. And in the dashboard listing page of the Grafana, we can see our dashboard that has just been created here. This should be persisted even if you log out of the sessions. The parameters in the metrics editor can further be customized and explored. For example, I have a completely clear dashboard here. I can put in a keyword of choice and search for some metrics, plot them as I normally do with my previous example, and I can customize and configure these parameters in the metric editor for each of the metrics. For example, I can change the label of the metrics that I display here at the bottom of the graph. Let's test with this listens metrics for host stat B2. You can see here that the label has been changed. We can also change the host, the objects, the unit, or the metric itself. This will give you a different data query, and therefore we query the correct information from the backend. We can trace back for the exact keyword that I have been searching for using the search button here. On each metrics, if I click on the search button, the search keyword that has been used will be populated on the search bar, and the associated result will be populated in the result page. On the same metric editor component, I can also apply custom functions. So let's say for the first one, for the established metrics, I can say x minus x multiplied by 10, and the values of the data is multiplied by 10, and it's reflected correctly on the Grafana UI as well. Here I have two drop-down. The first one is to do with the period, that's the data is query. I can select between 1 minute, 5 minutes, and an hour. This will give us more or less data points depending on the time span that you query the data. It is recommended by the BeeInstant backend that we use the higher period for the higher time slide that we're collecting the data from. And we can also choose a different stat, for example, average, max, min, or the actual original value n for each metrics. This Bcode component here allows you to perform further analysis and represents the relationships between metrics, not only just within one metrics. For example, here I have two metrics, the network established and the network listens. I can perform a get M0 plus M1, and I will have another matrix which is represented by another line chart that represents the sum of values of the two metrics that I have there on the screen. I can disable it and then re-enable it without having to re-input the Bcode again. When performing a such query, the result set of metrics can be quite large, and BeeInstant datasource plugin allows the user to actually group the metrics by different criteria, including the stat, top 10, bottom 10, or sort descendingly or ascendingly. So if I do a top 10 by the sum of average, I can see the highest metrics that has the data here on the graph. We can also do it for other stat as well, such as n, average, or different period of time, just like any other metrics. After all the changes being made to the dashboard needs to be saved, and you can access this dashboard again through the menu at the listing page level. We hope that you find this video clear and helpful, and find our BeeInstant Grafana plugin to be clear and intuitive, helping you to leverage the daily usage of Grafana. And thank you for your time. Goodbye.